Commission workshop meeting. Open that for comments and comments. What I was hoping that Tim would be here, but let's start without him. One of the things that I'm concerned about.
Hold on one second. Are we gonna deal with calling her? Because she wants to be included in this.
I guess we can call her
No, we have to have
a vote.
you have to have a motion, put it
Right.
on the table to
Exactly.
discuss.
All right,
If-
motion to have Marcia attend the meeting by phone.
Telephonically.
Yep. All in favor?
Oh,
No, someone's gotta second your motion.
Somebody.
I'll second it, get it on the floor.
Okay.
Have I been elevated?
And you got out, yeah, you got out.
You're elevated.
You're elevated by default.
Okay.
So,
All in favor?
Of what?
of
Elevate?
having Marcia
Oh,
appear.
Attend by
on the phone.
telephone.
Yes.
So, one.
Oh, great. So it's 2-2, because I'm voting no.
No.
2-2, so it doesn't work. All right.
It's
It's a wash.
It's a pain in the tuchus.
I'll have a hard time understanding her on the phone and following along with her if she's telephonic. So.
If we,
Can
can
we
we,
call her and tell her we're not connecting with her?
Oh, it's 2-2, so I guess not?
It's a deadlock, so I don't
Right.
think it's an affirmative yes.
I don't, I've never, that's why we have 5, that's why
That's
you
right.
have odd numbered boards, so you
That's
can't have
exactly the
ties.
reason.
Right.
It's a deadlock, so I will say let's
Should I
pass.
leave? And then you'll have 3.
Well, then we wouldn't have a quorum and we couldn't have a meeting.
You're glued.
All right,
I
okay,
say
so,
What do you do? What do you
let's
do?
proceed without.
Okay.
okay. All right,
Which is the best draft to look, to
It's the
use
latest- it's
as,
the
to
one
use
that's-
as a base?
it's the one
I made
labeled,
more copies, if that's the one you have, the recent one.
The one with Tim Nolan's
Yes,
comments?
Right.
that's the,
Okay.
right there.
That's the
I did that
latest.
on purpose, so
Okay.
that we have,
Okay.
all have the same one.
Well, I was just,
Ralph, do you have the same one? You do, I mean, Ted, you have the same one?
Yeah.
I know, yep, you're
Okay.
good. And Mike has
all right,
one.
and that's the one I worked off in terms of my comments. And I sent effectively 2 emails that you should have gotten concerning the list of issues. I think the problem we have is that we have made comments to our friends on the other side, and they have by and large ignored them. So they made comments and effectively we've made minimal progress, if any, by exchange of information back and forth. So we agreed to have this meeting to work out essentially things that we think that should be communicated to them that indicates our position. So the intent was to cover the primary items first. In 631B, on page 6, 31B.
it can,
Me?
31B,
You need a pen?
no.
Oh, what do you need?
Ralph, could we start at page 1
Yeah, I think,
and just,
all right. you
not
want-
that we're gonna have comments, but I don't wanna jump back and forth. Cause I mean, I've made an extensive review and I have my own.
Oh, your own comments? Okay,
Things.
let's walk through each one of the pages. Any comment on page 1?
Well, page 1 is just that title block.
All right. Page 2.
Page 2. Well, the only thing that I have, and it's global, it just shows up for the first time on page 2, is in the footer. I would like this to be called the Crow Family Conservation Easement. It's not a chain of ponds. There are ponds that are close together to one another, but they're not connected.
And the water actually flows two different directions.
Right. And the other second part of my reasoning is that, I mean, we have, across town, we have the McNair easement. There's names associated. And this is I just thought we should stay consistent and put the property owner's name who's making this property available. Granted, it's not being given or anything like that, but
Right.
that's just a comment for me, from
Right.
me. And I'm sorry to take, that's too much time already, but let's roll.
All right, page 3.
Page 3. I don't have anything, but Tim has, who prepares the BDR? Does MCC have a responsibility in this other than reviewing and approving? Baseline documentation report. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to it.
All right. So that's a comment, preparation of
I'll put a
a,
question.
it's 1.2 on page 3.
Oh, crap.
Okay, on page 4.
That's Linda Camo's.
What was the blue comments from?
Those are Linda Camo from Upper Saco Valley Land Trust. Those are
Upper Saco.
hers.
Oh, okay.
Okay, page 5. Page 6.
Page-
I'm recommending that 3.1B is deleted in its entirety.
3.1B.
We want these to take out the
It's
whole-
commercial activities with de minimis impacts.
delete completely.
Subject to.
So you're saying not allow any commercial activity?
Well,
It won't be
if-
referenced.
It would be based on the circumstances at the time. And I don't like illustrations, I don't like receipt of payments and government subsidies, I think it's all extraordinary.
Oh, so Tim, I would think the installation of solar panels and the necessary associated infrastructure would certainly be against the term of the easement. I would agree, that's a structure. Important to keep in. He's saying, important to keep in because your subsequent landowners would likely be receiving funds to conduct management activities. Some of these payments could be in excess of the actual cost.
Well, it also has things that it permitted activities show up in 2 other locations. So, but I think it's a matter of the fact that I don't like third parties coming in for collecting fees and all that other stuff. So I think it's,
Now,
based on my recommendation,
Yeah.
that they would have to come back and comment and say, okay, de minimis activities mean this. So.
yeah. And I think, I'm not sure that I agree with Tim's comments that it's tied to leaving this stuff in. Because the fact that you
No,
receive.
it's elsewhere.
You receive funding from Fish and Game or some other entity to, like, through one of the habitat projects or something like that.
Mhm.
That's not, to me, that's not commercial. That's a third party participating in the conservation effort with you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, Ralph, deleting that section.
All right, so our comment is delete on page 6, 3.1B. 31, on page 6, 31C,
You would no longer need.
any commercial activities proposed require easement holder's approval.
I'm sorry, I was reading at the same time. Where did that next section that you,
31C.
31C, okay. Cases where the administrator.
You want to add to that, correct?
I want to add, any commercial activities proposed require the easement holder's approval. So we're acknowledging that there may be a circumstance for this to happen. But we want to make sure, I don't want to waive it. I want to say, look, we are involved in approving it or not.
Yeah. Not necessarily in this section, but it's in there. I don't like the use of sole discretion, I understand, but it has legal significance. Anything that reference discretion, if it's regarding this board, I think it needs to be stated that to occur at a regular or special meeting of the commission.
So how do you want to change that?
In cases where.
See, I don't like the fact that we're
What's that?
I'd like to say more overtly that we will approve it rather than waive it.
Right.
So it's actually has the right in sole discretion, to waive the requirement, and that
not.
following sentence should be deleted and insert, any commercial activities proposed require the easement holder's approval. Makes it very clear.
Okay, can you read that, your second sentence one more time?
Okay. Any commercial activities proposed require the easement holder's approval.
Okay.
Clear.
And take out has the right, that whole paragraph, rest of
Well,
the paragraph?
Right.
Can, yeah, I'm fine with all of that, but I'd like to add to Ralph's sentence.
All right, let me just take that sentence out, that whole sentence out that you had right there, right?
Right.
And then add
Can you
number
read before you write?
3.
Kate,
What?
can you read before you write everything down? Because I want to insert
All
stuff
right,
in the
cases
middle.
where the de minimis commercial activities proposal or the impacts thereof is obviously minor, the easement holder, I don't know how you want to word this, the easement holder, will approve any commercial activities proposed, or something like that, I don't know.
Must approve
So you gotta change
at a
that.
hearing.
Any,
Must
well, wait,
approve any commercial activities proposed, that doesn't make sense.
sorry,
Oh,
to
let's
sound
see.
ignorant. Can you read the first
Yeah.
part, like the tail end of it again?
Ralph's comments?
No, leading into Ralph's comment.
Yeah, we need to fix it leading in.
All right, so I'm gonna start from the beginning, Mike. In cases where the de minimis of commercial activities proposal or the impacts thereof is obviously minor.
Okay, stop right there.
Yep,
I don't like activities proposal. I think that's wrong. I think it should be proposed, ED, not AL.
I thought we were gonna get rid of all commercial activity, period, from what Ralph said to begin with.
Well, if you left it the easement holder, will,
What if-
well, the easement holder, must approve
any commercial
any
activity.
commercial activity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
That makes it flow.
yep. is it necessary to state that any such proposals need to be made in writing to this commission? And those decisions will be made at this table during a
Okay.
legal meeting.
Read the ending, and then such proposal
You said,
must be presented must be prepared in writing
Easement, there it
and
is.
presented to.
Easement holder must approve
Yeah.
any commercial activity presented in writing. Presented in writing,
Yeah. Yeah.
presented in writing, writing to the Madison Conservation Commission, or easement holder, or whatever
Right.
you want,
No, you have to use the same whatever, however they refer to
Easement
us. You
holder.
don't wanna,
Even.
to the easement holder.
That's the town, right?
and then
Holder
somehow,
of record, or something like that?
No, just, easement holder is a defined term, so.
Okay.
it's
All
okay.
right, so hopefully I can put this together.
All
So
right.
Mike, let's go back to where you said proposed. So in cases where the de minimis commercial proposed activities or the impacts, is that how you want to word it? Because you didn't like activities proposed, but would proposed activities make more sense?
no. I don't like that sentence. It doesn't read correctly.
I know.
But I've gotten into trouble lately because I'm not properly using pronouns because they're universal.
Cases where the de minimis
The cases,
where, you don't even need the. Take out the. That's throwing it too.
waiver of approval process, well, the approval process isn't gonna be waived. We're talking about a process. We're
Right.
not waiving anything.
That's my point.
So you want to take out the waiver and just
Yeah,
say
we-
approval process,
Yeah.
period.
Yep,
And then in cases where cases where I don't like the there.
no. Any,
In cases.
Well,
where
if we
diminished
said
commercial-
the impact thereof, obviously minor, the easement holder there is the requirement is the easement holder must approve all such commercial activities. And that,
Must
that's
approve
English-
any
that's-
commercial activity presented in writing to the easement holder.
right.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but Mike was talking about, he didn't like the activities proposed part. He wanted to change that a little bit.
well, no, I don't like the activities proposal.
Right, I don't either.
Commercial activities. Well, no, I see what they're trying to do.
It makes sense. It flows.
So is this gonna become a new 3(1)B if we take out?
C, we're on C,
I know.
Yeah, but
we're
we
taking
just
out B.
eliminated B.
right,
So
B's
this
going away.
becomes B?
So definition of
We have
commercial.
to, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
All that is preliminary, so.
Right.
Let's,
We can go all-
And I
all-
just want to be clear that any evaluation of anything in this will be conducted at a public meeting.
Right,
Do-
to the easement holder, and, we gotta add something there, and, you wanna have it in a public setting, and
A duly posted public meeting of the,
duly posted. public meeting.
because there are people out there that think there's personal stakes involved and somebody is individually just spending $217,000 of public money to benefit themselves.
And will be duly posted, and will be duly posted as a public meeting. How's that? That sounds better.
Can
okay.
take a look at it in.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
well-
just trying to correct grammar wise how it should read.
Again,
Where are we at?
page
So that's gonna be 3C's gone. So that's gonna go, and then 3B is gonna be now what 3.1C is.
All right, 3B2.
3B, what?
3-2B?
3.2B?
3.2B, delete approved or pre-existing structures in accordance with section 3.5B.
To selectively cut, prune.
There are no structures.
And forest covered, isn't it necessary to establish or maintain approved pre-existing structure? Well, I understand what you're saying, Ralph, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but why wouldn't that amount to that whole bullet point being deleted?
That's what I'm recommending, 3.2B.
Yeah.
So you want to delete the whole thing, not just that sentence?
Right.
So delete the entire.
Well, we could delete, but you're right.
No, just the first bullet point, the one that starts with to selectively cut.
Right.
Yeah.
That-
That whole
Pre-existing,
section.
pre-existing, my point is that there are no existing structures.
I understand, and my point is, this whole first bullet talks about cutting trees, maintaining vegetation
No.
around the structure. You just get rid of that whole bullet, and it'll go up to maintain the edges of the fields.
Right.
Just get rid of that
The
first
whole.
one, strike it.
Yep, 3.2B, little dot underneath, the whole thing.
Yep, that's just that first one.
Got
That's
it.
that first bullet, right? Page 7. 3.3.
I'm at a disadvantage because the draft that I made my comments on was an earlier one, and it doesn't line up anymore with the changes
Oh.
that have already been made, so.
Okay, 7.3.3. Page 7.3.3. It's just a general comment, there is nothing in the text. Proceeds from the sale of logging is not covered.
Where is that?
I'm recommending add easement holder to receive 10% of the proceeds.
Where?
It's new,
Another.
you
little
can put it
bullet.
into,
Into 3.3A, or?
oh, we can make a,
I don't even know if she sent this to me in Word, I don't even know.
it can go right into the heading of 3.3.
All commercial forestry. Oh, we can add it right to after the word easement,
Right.
right there, after the word easement, add.
And I just picked 10% as an arbitrary number.
I'll put the proceeds. Proceeds of any, proceeds of sale of logging not covered?
Proceeds from the
Any
sale of logging.
proceeds for the proceeds from any logging, I'm just trying to make it work, cause it, any sale,
It's a new sentence, the proceeds.
yeah, I guess I'll just do that. It's the proceeds. I don't like how some of it goes, but. Is not covered.
Right.
I think that is, so I'm just looking at grammatically and stuff, I'm sorry, you guys, and,
All right, this is all preliminary.
yep, I know.
So-
And then add easement holder. Easement. holder Is to receive. 10% of any proceeds, how's that? Not of proceeds, of any proceeds.
Right.
Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to, Michael probably. And then is everything else okay on that page? That is the team, this section.
Well,
It is just stating.
the only thing I would say is 3.1B we left, did we? No, 3.1B we eliminated.
Right.
So in 3.3B, for potential applicability to such non-forestry activities and uses. So the last sentence, the
We're
last.
back on 3.1B,
No, I'm
Oh.
back on 3.3B on page 7.
3.3.
The end of the blue highlight,
Mm-hmm,
where
allowance
it
for
says
commercial activities.
for potential,
Yep,
strike that whole last sentence. Because it's making a reference to a section that we just eliminated.
right. Right. Okay. So we've taken care of 3.3. Now we go to page 8. Is everybody good on that page?
Okay. Let's go to page 8.
8.
And
And Tim's comment.
Tim's comments is in 3.3D.
And
Exception for habitat-specific management deemed/documented as appropriate by the forester/biologist and included in the approved forestry management plan. Clear cuts will be limited to 2 acres in size with travel routes left between nearby clear cuts.
Is there an approved forest management plan already on this property? There isn't.
Has insect or
I don't
climatic
think so.
mortality
I don't
and
think-
wind throw may be included an exception for habitat-specific management deemed exceptions to this size limit written by the forester or biologist in charge will be allowed for catastrophic events such as climactic, as insect or climatic mortality and
You can
wind
say-
throw.
As well as.
For, yeah, as well as
Habitat,
species-specific habitat management.
as well as species specific,
Habitat management,
so move it around, species specific
and it,
habitat management deemed documented as appropriate by the forest.
no, you don't need that part, because it's already in there.
So take out, so end it right at management, right?
Yep, so it should read, exceptions to this size limit written by the forester or biologist in charge will be allowed for catastrophic events such as insect or climatic mortality,
And
wind throw.
as well as species specific habitat management.
Yep,
And then take out the rest, that makes sense.
Okay.
So that takes care of 8. Now we go to 9. Moving on 9.
Any comments on 9? 10? Eleven? Page 12, 3.4C1.
Orchards. Oh, yeah, the orchards. Add the word commercial to orchards.
Right.
In support of commercial orchards. That's what you're saying, Ralph?
I in fact like removing orchards, period.
Definition of land conversion. Land conversion shall mean for any given area of the conservation, removal of trees, shrubs, ground cover, clay stone.
So just take out orchards, just,
Yeah, I think because they use
Pesticides.
pesticides.
yeah.
And in fact, if there is any scale, requires a lot of traffic to remove
Right.
large containers with apples or any other
Right.
fruit.
The ground out there is not really even.
My only question would be, if you, and I'm just asking because I don't know how it's really characterized, the state of New Hampshire has programs, you can go get crabapple trees from them, they'll give them to you, although they'll come up to your site and they'll only give you a certain number based on whatever you have for acreage and stuff, and whether or not the habitat is it's part of the wild turkey program.
Mhm.
If they were to do that as wildlife management,
That's food.
would that be considered an orchard because it's apple trees? This is just a question I don't know the answer to.
Tim might.
Well, is it an orchard with a couple of trees standing there? I don't think it is. I think an orchard is, in my mind,
Anything,
an activity
You-
that is for the production of crops,
okay,
okay? And that's really what I'm trying to petition off here. is
Oh, yeah,
that
we don't want any-
We don't want
any of that.
any of that. So whether or not your example in my mind is perfectly okay, you got 10 apple trees there and nobody picks, or they pick them if somebody visits or whatever.
Well, I'm just talking about being left for
Wildlife.
wildlife.
Right, that
Yeah.
would hear you.
Turkey.
Turkeys,
Bear.
squirrels, bears, whatever, whoever likes them.
Yep.
Well, how about in place of that, trees grown for wildlife?
Specify.
All trees are for wildlife, so it's, I think it goes
Why don't
without
we,
saying.
Kate, can we just put somehow, do you got stickies down here or
I
anything?
didn't bring any with me.
Why don't you just write in somewhere that you'll remember when Tim shows
Yeah,
up?
oh yeah, I was gonna, I
Let's
actually-
ask him how we should characterize
Okay.
in a forester's
Yeah.
lingo. Because I know like a mass tree is like nut producing. I don't know what they call. Oh, I guess it would be a fruit tree, wouldn't it? Or maybe we can figure it out then. Include progress or support of. Why don't, couldn't we just say instead of orchards, say tree planting?
Sure.
Because that would cover both if you wanted to plant oak trees for acorns or.
The way I read this is prohibited. What shall mean
If these
definition of land conversion. So so they're trying to do something to the land that isn't there now. And removal of the trees, saplings, shrubs, stumps, all that. Soils for support of, I don't, maybe I'm reading it wrong.
Well, it's saying there, it may be allowed if the following conditions are met.
Limits of on clear cutting is an exception.
Oh, okay,
So
right, but
if we deleted the word orchards in its entirety, that means that it's an exception that would have to come to us. So my recommendation, we could just delete the word.
And then put it on tree planting, just leave it alone and just leave it as,
We've requested it before, so they just didn't, so let's reinforce that. Take it out.
yeah, I actually like it better. Take it out.
take it out. All right,
'Cause then
I'm
you're
going
talking
to ask
about-
Tim though, if
Right.
you want.
It's a
guys
difference between, you're talking about mowing stuff down to create open space, basically, and that's what land conversion means to me.
Right.
And then, once you did that, if you wanted to go back and say, we want to plant some of these crab apple trees or whatever, then like you say, propose it, we can talk about it and decide if that's something we want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Page 12,
Nope.
3.5.
Yep, 3.5, I think moving on, sorry. Delete.
Limitations on
Qualifications.
usage.
Subject to the qualifications stated below.
And you want
So, conveyance of-
delete all of that, you want to delete that, A, all of A. What's that? Because they are gonna subdivide.
You know what, if I never hear, this is our standard language, I don't care, we don't want it. You want
Right.
our money, do some things that we wanna do.
Yeah, so, so my recommendation is essentially that we delete all of the subdivision. Subdivision, I don't understand why we would permit a subdivision,
No,
or why we would, separate parcels in 3.5A1, leases, why we would permit leases.
well,
See, these are that's why I'm saying are specifically prohibited, period. Delete subject to stated below and delete all of 3.5A.
right.
I don't understand why we would permit a lease or why we would permit subdivision.
I'm just hung up on this first, and any activities inconsistent with the purposes of this easement are prohibited. The following activities are inconsistent with the purposes of this easement and are specifically prohibited,
Subject to qualifications below.
Right,
So they're
so,
carving out,
but where do we get to the, what they purport to be a list of things that aren't?
well, I don't like the qualifications.
Right, I agree with you there, but I'm looking for, the language itself doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, maybe we.
Because they're introducing us as the following activities are inconsistent and specifically prohibited. Subject to, I don't like that part, agree with you 100%. But I'm trying to decide what is the subject to and where is the list?
Well, it's really 3.5A, all of 3.5A. So, actually, your comment is well taken, we could delete all of 3.5.
3.5A, A1.
All of 3.5.
A2, A3, and A4, just take it out.
I recommend deleting all of 3.5.
Tim says, though, 3.5A2 is good to have this stated. Would this be something like pay to use cross-country skiing like Whitaker Woods? If so, I think language that protected the public's right to use the property for all permitted low-pack rec uses not be infringed by any leases for similar uses. Well, do you wanna have a kiosk set up there that people can cross-country ski and pay a fee?
No.
No, I don't think you do, but,
No, I don't like any of
Whitaker Woods, where
3.5.
Whitaker Woods is.
right, and that's
Say
what's
nothing about
gonna,
here.
that's what could possibly happen.
Right, and then you end up paving these trails instead of,
Yeah.
Bike trails. Motorized bicycles.
right, but I don't.
How about deleting 3.5?
In its entirety.
Well, I think, I'm not arguing with you, a lot of the stuff that is there needs to go, But there also, I would think, is gonna be some limitation on uses. But that's what I'm saying, where are the limitations? Oh, okay.
As an exception to this use limitation, any portion.
Separate conveyance of a portion of the conservation area, a division or subdivision of the, is prohibited. Okay, let's just go through this line by line. So is prohibited, period, get rid of the end, there's no exception. So then that takes us to 35A4.
Are you taking out that whole last sentence, except as provided in the section? Is that what you're doing, Mike? You did prohibited, period.
Is prohibited, period. So then when you read on of what we just agreed, well, I think we should delete the 35A4 that it references, that goes.
35A4,
Yep,
Which we recommended before anyway.
division allowed under certain circumstances, delete that.
right. And then
35A.
restrictions apply to the whole. Even if the conservation area consists of more than one parcel for real estate tax or other purposes. In this case, it doesn't, right?
Where are you on reading that?
I'm in 35A1.
A1, okay.
We
See,
don't,
we don't have, see, that's what, the point I'm making is that I object to them having the ability to subdivide this thing into parcels, or lease it, or rent it.
I agree with you 100%, but that's not what this is saying here. Even if the conservation area consists of more than one parcel for real estate tax or any other purpose, I'm asking, and I believe I'm right, that doesn't apply to this. This isn't a McNair situation where we have 4 different deeds making up the conservation area. We've got one parcel of land,
Okay,
one parcel of land, one deed.
right,
So we don't need that either.
right.
So 35A1 goes.
Especially if we don't allow the subdivision.
Irrespective of use limitation, the landowner shall be permitted to rent, lease, or, no, you shall not, because we don't want you to be able to do that.
So we delete that.
Yep.
Okay, we're getting to my wish list.
We're slowly getting to, once I get done, I like to, death by 1,000 cuts.
This is good. Joint ownership,
Notwithstanding the foregoing, any undivided parcel may be owned as a joint tenancy or tenant.
Why would they?
Notwithstanding the foregoing. No, because
Yeah,
we're already
that's
talking
not
about, we're
allowed.
not creating subdivision.
Yeah,
Right.
can't.
So look at that, what did we end up with?
we ended up with what? I want.
3.5A is prohibited, subdivision is prohibited,
Right.
okay? So then 3.5B, no additional structures,
Wait a minute, in 3.5
The-
subdivision, we didn't get to 3.5A.
No,
I
we
thought
did.
we said,
No, right here.
we're deleting it?
We're gonna do the, it's gonna read separate conveyance of a portion of the conservation area or division or subdivision of the conservation area is prohibited, period, the
End
end.
of sentence.
Okay, perfect.
That's done. And
All
then
right,
take,
that's
cross
fine.
out this,
All right,
A1.
and then the rest of the blue
Yep.
under that is gone.
right.
Yep.
So no additional structures, temporary or
Standard.
permanent, may be established or maintained on the conservation, except that the landowner reserves the following rights set forth in 3.5B. For the purpose of this easement and to distinguish deliberately this definition from that of the state, municipality, or structure shall mean any combination of materials.
See, I'm suggesting that we delete the word sign. Because I don't think we have any structures. That's why I'm suggesting deleting that, because I don't think, and I think there is one sign existing there, and that's by the old railroad tracks.
Well, the thing is I don't, I don't like some of this language, and I really don't like it when people get cute. Who's sitting at this table thinks a trail is a structure?
Right.
Nobody.
Even if it is paved,
Right, that's not, I don't.
it's not a structure. They're trying
In
to,
our
some-
old world, it's not.
somebody's trying to get cute and saying it's a two-dimensional structure.
Well, it does say unpaved trail or unpaved road shall not be a structure.
Right.
So only if it's paved would it be a structure.
Well, I don't think it would be a structure if it's
Well, and I don't
paved.
think we
We
should,
don't want pavement anyways.
we don't want pavement anyway.
Because then you're gonna have the issue with electric
See-
lights.
And I really don't like, there are no known structures. Stone walls are not structures. Stone walls are monuments.
Right, they're not, yeah. I agree with you on the real estate part of it.
See, this section could be deleted because I don't believe there are any existing structures.
Well, right, but I think, so you say, as of the date of this easement, there are no known structures, period.
All right, I'm good with
So
that.
take out,
Except stone walls, railroad tracks, there are no known structures on the conservation
Hold
area.
on.
Okay,
Where are we? Mike, I'm sorry.
No known structures, and
Where are
then
we putting it? Where am I putting that? At 3.5?
3.5B2.
B2.
2? All right, so here I'm gonna say, as of the date of this easement, there are no known structures.
And then you're
except-
striking from except to the end of the highlight on any. So it'll read, no known structures on the conservation area.
So as of this date of this easement, there are no known structures except stone walls, railroad tracks.
No, we're deleting the except stone walls because they're monuments, and railroad tracks, they're historic, and
There are no known structures, and what was the other, what did you say? I'm sorry.
you just delete everything until the end of the sentence is
On
on
the
the conservation
conservation
area.
area.
Leave it on the conservation, okay.
That's simple.
why do we need 35B1 then?
I don't think you do.
35B1, definition of structure.
I don't
Why
think
do we
you
need it?
And 3.5B, no additional structures, no structures, temporary or permanent, may be established or maintained. 'Cause you don't want any structures, correct? So I would change 3.5B.
I think you need 35B1 because it's a definition.
Okay,
If we want to change the definition, let's have at it.
All
But
right.
I do think you need to define it. You can't just, because there's no structure, we can't just eliminate the section that deals with structures. We have to
All right.
affirmatively state that there are none
okay.
and
take out the
affirmatively
word
state that
additional.
we don't want any.
Take out no additional, take out the word additional, because you want to
No.
say, no structures, temporary or permanent, may be established or maintained on the conservation area.
Correct, because there are none,
So we're taking out additional, everybody,
Yeah.
and then.
Take out it in the
Please.
bold
Except
print.
if
Introduce,
the landowner
enlarged.
reserves the following rights as sex.
Okay, so if, and this sounds kind of anal, probably it is. No structure, there are no structures, so no structure shall be constructed, placed, introduced. We can take out enlarged.
Where are we? Hold on, I jumped,
It's,
where are we?
I'm reading along that sentence.
Is this in 4?
It's in 3.5.B.3.
Oh, 3.
Oh, we're down there, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No structure shall be constructed, placed, introduced.
Enlarge, relocate.
Delete, get rid of enlarged, because there are none. You can't enlarge something
you
that
don't
isn't
have,
there.
Right,
And relocate it, take that.
Well,
out.
relocated, you can move
But there are
something
none
from
to
one
move.
place to another.
But there are none to
but
move.
if there's nothing there,
So you take it out. Well, there's nothing to be used, maintained, repair,
I think you
replace.
say relocated to.
relocated,
No additional structure shall be construction placed, would cover you on new company.
no additional structure.
Yeah, placed, you're right, you're
What
right. So we can get rid of relocated. We, yep,
No
yep.
structure shall be constructed,
Placed.
placed, introduced,
End of sentence.
out
No- no
enlarged and
structure shall be
relocated,
constructed.
used, maintained, repaired, replaced, rebuilt, or improved.
Okay, so let's get, I love what Ted just said. So from enlarged,
Yeah,
strike everything
Down to-
until the word on. So it will read, no structure shall be constructed, placed,
Introduced on, above, or below the conservation area except as expressly permitted in this section 3.5B structures. Wait a minute. So we're
See,
saying-
that, I don't think that works, because you look at 3.5B,
Right,
except that
no
the-
additional structures, temporary or permanent, may be established or maintained on the conservation area, except that the landowner reserves the following rights. Okay, you're right. It will now though, because if you take except, so structures, no additional structures, temporary or permanent, may be established or maintained on the conservation area, period.
and we took out the word additional, Mike. We didn't leave additional in there because there isn't anything to have. there
Right,
isn't
well,
anything there,
I wasn't,
so-
you
That's
took
all
it
right,
out
right?
because you were in a different section. We deleted it from 3.5B3.
3.5B, cycling back, except you wanted to, which I think is right, except that the landowner reserves the following rights set forth in this section 3.5B.
No, he did a period
No,
there.
I would do a period.
So it's gonna read.
No structures, temporary or permanent, may be established or maintained on the conservation area.
And I'm deleting the.
Yep,
the-
delete the remainder. No
Yes.
exceptions. I hate exceptions.
Okay.
Let's say what we want, and there's no exceptions.
And then 3.5B3,
Additional structures, no.
except
structure.
as expressly permitted in this section, 3.5B structures should be deleted.
Yep,
What one?
Except,
Yeah, enlarge, relocated and used, maintain, repair, replace, rebuild, or improved.
when I see the word except, somebody's
Oh,
got a
I didn't get
loophole in
except,
there
I'm
that I
sorry.
don't understand.
They're just
And
not
therefore-
working right.
except
As
Cut it.
expressly
delete the
permitted.
whole thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, that's
Expressly impermissible structures.
What does impermissible mean?
Can't, not allowed. Big words, not allowed. No.
Because now you're just saying again, they can't be constructed. Replace 3B and 3.4, repeat each other.
I know. Well, because they change them a little bit.
So I think 3.5B4 can go.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
Permitted minor forestry structures that do not require holder approval. The
You probably
landowner,
haven't got them all covered.
The
There's a
landowner-
loophole, yeah, you haven't got everything.
the landowner reserves the right to establish and maintain minor, temporary, or portable structures commonly necessary for
Or appropriate.
temporary equipment sheds. I've never seen such a thing. No.
The,
So take out, well,
the temporary equipment sheds, it's like the modular trailers,
Right, but
jog trailers. We don't
Right.
put that on there.
no, if you're talking about a trailer, then you bring it on, and yeah, I don't care if you park it there for a few days while you're using your lawnmowers or whatever you're doing, but it doesn't need to be put in here. It's not a structure. If it comes to the site as a trailer, it's a,
I think they mean like the ones that Coleman's leaves on the
they're
big job
workshop
sites.
site trailers, yeah.
But
Those
the,
office-
but the thing is crazy, it says barriers, fences, culverts, bridges, stream crossings. It's an overreach, it's just beyond comprehension. But they say all such structures will be removed in a timely fashion.
So what are we gonna cross?
well,
Well, why don't we say, delete such as on the, this is on page 14. Go conservation area, period, make that period, and then delete all the rest of it. maybe leave the last sentence, all such,
Oh,
I know it saves paper, but two-sided makes it hard to.
I know.
Landowner reserves the right to establish and maintain minor temporary or portable structures commonly
Leave that
necessary
sentence
for
in there, Ralph. I don't think you want that
or
last.
appropriate to support allowed forestry activities on the conservation area.
leave that sentence in, delete all but the last sentence
Where are we?
after that.
Where are you, Ralph?
Well, I think, I understand what you're saying, but I think if you put a period after conservation area, you can strike the rest of that sentence. But I think we need to think about where the installation of structures that you're gonna allow may pose a potential, I think you wanna leave that they shall be set back 250 feet
All right, okay.
from the edges of waterboarding and wetlands, all such structures much. So I think if we take out, after conservation area, there's a period, strike just the rest of that sentence and leave the rest.
Okay.
But the thing, I guess I don't necessarily like that it gives the impression that they can do stuff without, how hard would it be to get our approval first?
All right,
Like, you go in there, we're gonna, and I hate to, I always get like a little apprehensive or whatever, but if something were to happen, the wetland get damaged or
Here comes Tim.
blah, 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 something, we're gonna be fingers pointed in our direction, because we let that happen.
Right.
But we didn't even know they were gonna be there.
true.
You know what I mean? So if you say, well, we're gonna do, this is our plan, we're gonna harvest over here, well, then let's walk the site and see where you're gonna
We
operate
need
so
to have
that,
more control.
so that we can approve, if you've gotta put a culvert in or something temporarily to do something, then we approve the location. And
All right,
we-
then
Or
let's
you're
cycle
involved
back, let's cycle back to the first sentence in 3.5b.5.
13. 3.5b.5, permitted minor forest structures do not require holder approval. Landowner reserves the right to establish and maintain.
With prior approval,
Where are you putting that in?
at the beginning, with prior approval of the easement holder, that's our defined term. The land.
Permitted minor forestry
Hey,
structures.
Tim.
Hey, Tim.
I
Hello.
thought it was 3:30. It started.
You said you couldn't come till 3:30.
Oh,
It's
okay.
2:30, but you haven't, you can sit, you can be, we can move Mark.
Take
you
the
can put that-
comfortable chair, don't
All
sit
right.
here.
You can just flip Mark and Josh's things over, because they're not here, so. Thank you.
Oh, where are
You're
we?
here. Well, we
Well,
started
we're the-
feeding through.
We're on page 13.
Okay.
But, okay, so what we're talking about is forestry structures that do not require a holder approval. I think it should be easement holder approval, but that's all right. And what we're debating here is that they are able to do all sorts of things without informing us. And that perhaps it should be a requirement that they inform us of the activity.
Permitted minor forestry structures. So, I mean, the list of things that they give is a temporary minor structure.
Right.
But you concerned about that being a work trailer, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they were concerned about.
Like if say they were doing a logging operation and they had like a service trailer as part of the, so, I mean, it would be something that would be wheeled, that they would be keeping, you know, locked, being able to lock tools or,
Right.
you know, things like
But
that.
to me, that's not a structure.
No.
That's a motor vehicle that you're gonna park it there on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're talking about, they're going, grates, fences, culverts, bridges, stream crossings.
Well, yeah, I mean, as part of a timber sale, you might put in a temporary bridge
Okay.
for the equipment to get over. You might put in a temporary culvert.
Right, but what we're hung up on is without our approval. And not that we would not approve it, it's just wanna be made aware of it before it happens, you know what I mean?
Well, then ask for that, I guess.
Right. So we're cycling back to the page before, on page 13, the bottom of the page, changing the text there, that they reserve the right.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying yes or no for them, but I
Right.
guess just,
So we don't mind.
So, we're making suggestions to them of what we want.
yeah, for
So
sure.
permitted minor forestry structures, delete,
Would require,
delete that do not. And so it will read.
Would require
forestry-
easement holder approval.
Require holder approval.
Would require easement holder approval.
Right.
I think you want that in there. Permitted minor forestry structures would require easement holder approval. Yep.
But then we have the sentence, the landholder reserves the right to establish.
well, yeah, you'd need to if you're changing the
The header,
you'd obviously need to rework the
Change
paragraph
the-
below it.
So you can say the landowner
must,
delete reserves the right to and replace it with may.
Establish and maintain minor temporary work. Or
Say,
may
may
establish
establish,
with easement holder approval.
yeah, at the very end of it.
Where? Where?
Maintain minor, temporary, or portable structures commonly necessary for or appropriate to support allowed forestry activity on the conservation area.
With easement holder approval.
The one thing I'll say is that, say they're doing a timber sale and they're planning on installing, you know, a temporary culvert or a temporary bridge. Are you going to go out and approve the location, or are you just gonna expect that they're doing it in the right thing? You could be creating work for yourself there.
Well, we just want to know.
We'd
Yeah.
really be creating work for you because we'd be asking you to do it.
Odds are I'd be doing it for them,
Right.
but yes.
Okay.
So basically, you know, in this case, you just want to know what sort of temporary structures at the onset of a,
Well, we need, at the end of conservation area,
Easement holder.
with
Holder approval.
holder approval,
Have
and
easement
then we
holder.
leave the rest of it alone.
Take it out or leave it in? The rest of it, you took it
Leave,
out.
leave the rest of it alone.
So, okay. You did, alright. And leave in the such as temporary equipment, because we did cross that out, sheds, machinery.
We'll leave it all in.
Alright, let me go highlight that. So I know.
What I thought when Tim was here, we'd cycled through to a couple of sections, skipping to page 17. And this is really what we want, what activities we want to limit.
Okay.
Because I think it's important that Tim participate in that.
So which page did you say, 17?
17, 311A.
311A.
Oh, it's not on your list.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's really include without limitation, walking, hiking, nature observation and study, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, fishing, hunting, as well as nature-based education and scientific research that doesn't require structures. Now, do we have any objection to what is in low-impact outdoor recreation?
I think that's a pretty standard list, you know, things that are non-detrimental to the.
Okay, well, that's fine.
And you had deleting trapping, horseback riding, non-motorized bicycle, permitting bicycling, designated areas for.
Okay, so that definition looks all right.
So leave it and leave the word permanent, require permanent structures, because that was highlighted in yellow. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, the yellow wasn't me.
No.
I think the yellow
It was
is
theirs.
It was theirs in the first, there's been so many
As well
drafts,
as
Tim.
nature-based outdoor education and scientific research. Well, I think it's unnecessary. I think you could, scientific research, period, because we've already said we're not gonna allow structures. And if you're gonna do some kind of research that requires a permanent structure, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah,
'Cause-
but it's good to just state it in there that, you know, I mean, it's just stating it again, that no matter what you're doing for any of these
It doesn't.
low-impact activities, there will be no permanent structures. I mean, yes, it is redundant, but. And then 11B is public access, the landowner shall not post or limit
11
access for any of the
11C.
uses above.
11C is motorized
That one-
vehicles.
Yeah, that one's gonna be.
That one is an issue.
So long as
In what way?
Well,
do not result in substantial.
I mean, it's,
erosion.
the town doesn't allow on any of their land motorized use. We block
It
off.
says, in the
every-
event of use by third parties that cause substantial rutting, erosion, or impairment.
You can tell the landowner,
So why are we permitting third parties?
you're not. The landowner reserves the right to use and allow the use for property managed so long as uses do not, meaning that if they, motorized vehicle for property management could be, you know, being able to go in there with a four-wheeler with chainsaws and a trailer, not allowing public motorized use, but allowing their own maintenance, being able to drive in there with
These
a
are
vehicle.
contractors, essentially.
Or themselves, the land
Right.
trust or someone they're hiring to go in there. It says they reserve the right to use and allow the use of motorized vehicles for property management. So say they were hiring someone to go in there and rip out invasive species. It would be unreasonable to say, well, no, you can't go in there with some sort of a vehicle to bring your tools and equipment in. Or, you know, I mean, it's allowing, yeah, I mean, it's basically the landowner or their agents, their hired agents.
And it
And
pretty
you're-
much says if they cause a problem,
You
then
can
we
make
can
them fix
require
it.
them
to fix it.
to fix it and post it to prevent that kind of activity
Yep.
in the future.
Okay, and 11D,
Yep, that's a biggie.
So the corridor, it goes through there now, correct?
yes.
And so they're reserving the right to allow the snowmobile use. I mean,
Okay, so there's no issue on,
no, I commented that, you know,
ability to
you,
move the trail.
yeah, because I haven't been out there, I don't know it, but say, for instance, the trail was in a spot where it was causing an issue, it would make sense to move it to a better location. Maybe the wording would be the ability to move the trail with easement holder permission or notification or permission or something.
I don't know, because I haven't ridden a snowmobile in 30-something years, but corridor 19 is the railroad bed, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the railroad tracks that go up through
I
there,
don't know
which
if it-
aren't in good shape anyways because of the bog.
Right, but I don't know if there's any
Other
other
places.
trail
Yeah, I don't
that
know.
impacts this property.
No,
But the railroad bed is,
yeah.
regardless of its physical condition, is very well defined.
Yep.
Right. And I'd hate for them to decide to move the trail, because if you move the trail off the railroad tracks, it's going towards the houses on Forest Pines,
Well, we can
which is gonna be a nuisance to everybody.
We can just get rid of my comment on that then.
All right, so you're okay with, so the designated, is it designated trail as opposed to designated trails.
I would say, I would put a capital S state and a hyphen,
Okay.
state designated trails. E.g., example, New Hampshire Corridor 19. I don't know if there are others. If there are and they appear on the state trail map, regardless of whether the state owns the trail or not, they've legitimized it.
I mean, it's maybe ask a question and say, what is, how many, number and location of existing trails?
Yeah.
Would be a good thing, and just ask them, because that would also show up right on the beginning. My first comment was the baseline documentation report.
Yeah.
That would be something that would have maps that would show all existing trails, all existing roads, everything. That's, that
okay.
would be on there because you're establishing existing conditions on the property at the time. So number and location would be good to,
I was gonna say, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay,
that's
so,
only
so
trail.
in 11D, the comment is list existing,
Yeah.
all
It's
trails.
just it's a general question.
Yeah,
How many and where are they?
yep.
Location of and list, so I wrote a question in the side margin for that.
okay. Page 18. All right, this has got all of the issues related to what they're permitted to do.
Or this is what they're
Prohibit.
notwithstanding the
Right.
foregoing, the landowner shall be permitted to
Landowner
post.
shall be permitted to post or otherwise prohibit public access.
To and use of any or all of the conservation areas. So basically, during active forestry operations, they can say, you gotta stay out of this area, which is a public safety thing. That's normal.
Right.
Any discrete,
Really, the issue is the fourth bullet.
That are not.
I mean, that's, it's.
Low impact recreation.
Well, no, that are not low impact
Right.
recreation, so
They're not allowing camping, horseback riding, mountain biking, or other.
they reserve the right to limit camping, horseback
Right,
riding,
right.
mountain biking, other wheel vehicular use. Everything that we covered in the first definition of low impact cannot be limited, these can. Which, I mean, the biggest thing would be the motorized vehicle use, and that's something that you can't expect any landowner to have to accept on their land, something that's detrimental to the causes of conserving it in the first place.
We had an issue with camping and horseback riding. Last discussion we had.
Well, you're giving them the ability to say, no, we can't have that out there. Or did you think they should have to allow that?
No, prohibited,
Yeah, this is prohibited.
Yeah, they're saying they can prohibit it.
right.
Landowner reserves the right to prohibit for all of these reasons. Prohibit
But
camping, horseback.
Do we want to prohibit it now? Is the issue, you know, that I have in terms of motorized vehicles. I think should be definitely out.
They are. Yeah, I mean,
They-
that's
well-
a standard thing, that they will, they are and do.
They have the right to do it if they, notwithstanding
So I
about
think
retains the
what Ralph
right.
is saying is he wants them to affirmatively do it.
I gotcha,
Right. to say it.
Don't reserve the right to ban it, let's ban it right now.
Right,
gotcha.
right.
Put that in there. I mean, they're not gonna fight you on that one because on all of their lands, they do if, you know, I mean, like I said, it's just, I mean, for the same reason that the town does on all the town forests. If you have people in there on four-wheelers and dirt bikes, it just tears it up.
Right.
And it's a huge liability. If you were to say it was okay, then you're assuming the liability for someone getting hurt out there.
Well, the other thing too, if you have camping, there's no water,
Fires.
Right.
there's no waste disposal
Yep.
and all of that. And horseback riding, I think, tears up the territory.
Yeah.
Well,
It can.
It can, yeah.
Maybe put a note in there that you would like to see camping and motorized vehicle use specifically prohibited, and then let them reserve the right to prohibit other things as needed or something.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because, I mean, really, the camping and the motorized use are the two that you really have issue with.
Right.
And the only time you'd have issue with mountain biking is if you had 400 people in there at the same time.
Or just getting pounded like the
Well,
town of Conway where
You
things are
could,
becoming.
you could deal with mountain biking only on designated trails.
And if they're allowing it and it causes a resource concern, in that previously stated paragraph, you have the right to say, you need to fix this and stop it. Remember, we looked at,
Yep, yep.
I forget where it was, but back here just a little bit.
Page 12, I think.
Yeah, you reserve, you know. Yeah. So, other than maybe like, you know, stating that there will be no motorized use or camping, I think the rest of that's okay.
Okay.
So we'll do-
So what, the note is, camping and motorized vehicles are expressly prohibited. And let them, let them
Camping
fix the
motorized
language.
vehicle use is expressly.
We can let them fix the language.
Well, we're doing the horseback in that as well.
So could you decide on that? You talked about it.
If there's one horse here and there.
Motorized and commercial recreational usage, I think is another thing that we ought to exclude. Motorized vehicle.
I guess that goes back, I had a question about like, and it was a question that I had back at the beginning. Oh, back here in limitations on uses where it said leases allowed, my question, would this be something like the pay-to-use cross-country skiing in Whitaker Woods?
Okay, well, we did a substantial reduction of the,
But,
subdivision. We don't like the property being divided into multiple locations or multiple owners and leases and all that stuff. So
Well, I
if you're
don't,
looking at 3.5A or 3.5.
well, no, it's saying you can't subdivide it, no matter what. You'd want to keep 3.5A in, except as provided in section.
Yeah, but it's not, we want it except as provided, deleted.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Yeah, that's what I thought it was supposed to be.
we're making an affirmative statement that subdivision is prohibited,
Yep,
period.
gotcha.
Took everything out.
So, okay, and then you crossed out A2.
Any exception.
All right, well, that gets rid of the thing that I had the question about anyway.
Okay. all right.
So now back to where were we?
On page,
Well, on that same page, Tim,
Back to
the
the 3.5.
3.5,
Yep.
up above, we just had a general question
Where are we looking at?
in the forestry,
Yep.
the orchard, you made a comment about.
Oh, the orchard, that's a good comment. That's good.
How do you, if you planted a stand of crabapple trees
For
as-
wildlife.
as part of the wild turkey program, or
Yep.
is that considered an orchard because it's a fruit tree?
Gosh, let me read this. Land conversion shall mean. Well, that's a great question.
No, it's a long.
Well, I didn't want to eliminate the word orchard.
If it could
If it had-
mean something like that, yeah.
Exactly.
Because that would be something like, that would be great to have out there. But, yeah, I just picked up on orchard as kind of an awkward word, but yeah, if it, I guess just have the question of, maybe define what an orchard is.
Because,
And that's for land conversion as
right, so you're
opposed
talking
to.
about cutting down what's there and doing something different.
Different, yeah.
So you get rid of all of the, no, it's a
Yeah,
bad
that-
example, but the pine trees are, and then do,
That was the issue I had, is that we don't want a commercial orchard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically what you were saying.
We took it out.
All right, so where are we now?
We deleted the word orchard.
Orchard.
Yep.
Now we're back to 18.
18?
That's where we were, I think that's where we were, Tim, yeah, because we were at the
Oh, yep.
camping and the horseback
Yep.
riding, we were still kind of.
Yeah, and I think, expressly getting it right in the easement that they don't have the right to allow those uses would be good. Those particular ones that, we feel would be detrimental to all the purposes of the easement. The stated ones at the beginning. I don't think that would be an issue at all.
Well, we bounced, I suggested we bounce back to there, because I wanted to make sure you had commented on the
Yep.
uses. But I think we were on page 15. And this was, I'm recommending that we delete 35C, 1.
35C. So
One.
We were.
35C1.
We were reading this area, Ralph, before we switched to the other pages. We just finished that before Tim
Okay.
came in, so we haven't even,
We haven't covered,
no,
what page is that?
that's 14. So
14, sorry.
We had just finished.
Okay, 14, sorry,
That paragraph at the top.
right.
So we never made it to 35B6 and gone down that way. It's the
All
same
right.
thing, which, you don't have anything on your list.
35B6,
Yep.
I just don't like it.
So we're back into the structures thing.
Exactly, and they're
Yeah.
talking about structures, a sign is a structure, it isn't.
So which in their list do you guys have? I mean, trail markers I think is fine, steps and bog bridges, water bars, all that's good, like a safety railing.
Yep.
The wildlife observation blind, I think that's getting,
almost
What
like
is that,
hunting.
Tim? What is it? Is it a?
It's just it's a blind, like you would use it for hunting, but they're talking about having it, if
For
you wanna
observation.
go out there to watch
Yeah.
birds, you crawl in this thing and you're hidden. So that you have a better opportunity of seeing whatever bird you're trying to see.
Gotcha.
Well, it's
Is that a
got,
structure?
it's got hunting stands
Yes.
there.
Be a
That
structure.
was structure. That'd be a structure, wouldn't it, Mike?
Well, no, it really, in my opinion, it wouldn't be.
But a hunting stand would be.
No, it wouldn't.
because it's temporary.
It's
not-
removable.
Oh, it is, okay.
And
Unless you build.
these, the landowner is reserving the right to put these things in, so we're okay if they put in trail signs, bog bridges, blinds, temporary observation, hunting stands,
Well,
gates.
we don't, are we permitting hunting?
Yeah, that's one of the low-impact uses that is
Yeah.
forced to be allowed.
Okay.
And I
I don't
think
think
that that's important.
we'd be lynched if we spent $217,000 of public money and said you can't hunt.
Yeah.
All right.
Or didn't guarantee the right to hunt, which
Right.
this does.
Right.
Okay.
Gates, load barriers. I don't have any issue with that paragraph or any of the uses or what they're calling minor recreational structures that don't require your approval to put those sort of things in. They're all temporary, they're all
No, I object to the categorization
of those
of-
as structures.
To me, there's a better word than structure for what they're talking about.
Minor
Some of those things-
recreational improvements.
Yeah,
Attributes?
whatever. It's all fine. It's just me
Yep.
and my particularities.
Question for you, Tim, is you see even other places, the wooden walkway bridges that go out over
Yep.
bog areas and that stuff, what impact does that have on the bogs themselves?
Well, you would need DES approval to do any
Yeah,
of
I think
that.
that's more like what they're talking about is when you get into a wet area and you just lay like a log and then have board,
So
you
a
know,
short
over the
distance
top.
one, it's not like.
Yeah,
going over
I'm
the
not
entire
picturing-
cranberry bog that's out there. whatever.
Yeah,
Bog
that's
there.
something that would require a dredge and fill permit because you're putting things into the wetland. And that would instantly end up, because of the easement, that would come to you and that would be a lot.
That was just my concern of.
Yep.
If it's on that scale of it of.
And then in the next paragraph, it says recreational or educational structure is requiring your approval, and then I think there it says boardwalks. So, I mean, if they were to do something like that, boardwalks other than bog bridging, it would require your approval anyway.
Yeah, I see it now.
Docks, piers, that's getting into like the more permanent stuff. And then this is getting into any overnight use, this is getting to the camping.
Right.
I'd put a note in that says, yeah. Well, I mean, they're saying any of this stuff would require your approval, so if you don't like it, you just say no.
Right.
They can't do it without asking.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, if anything, all this stuff is just tying their hands and limiting you to what the town says is okay, so.
I don't know why it's all necessary.
Because 150 years from now, this is still gonna be the document that guides this. I mean,
True.
in today's world,
Is gonna be different.
yeah, and that's why there's so many examples, because they try to spell out the spirit of what they're saying, not just the words. So they're trying to give examples, because like I said, 150 years from now, none of these things may be applicable, but at least they're trying to give you an idea of what they were intending. The spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law.
Okay.
I'd like to add international airport to the end of 3.5
I think they add a golf
B7.
course.
Because they got a whole bunch of other things you could never do there. I want to put another one.
They almost had a golf course.
I know, I
It's just
know.
outlining
That would've been
stuff
great.
that you
Walk across
Permanent
the
air,
street.
oh yeah, I was looking up here, yeah, I see where you're talking about.
Dressage fields, polo fields,
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
no polo grounds. Damn it.
No
A-
what?
ATVs, racetracks, towers, playgrounds. They got airstrips,
Yeah, I know.
but
Yeah.
it's not international.
Yeah.
Which number are we on, please?
We're on page
At the end
15 at
of
the top.
the bottom of page 14 to the top of page 15.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's all fine. It's talking about what you can't do, and it's just listing a whole bunch of stuff that you truly can't do,
No matter what.
even if you wanted to.
Even if they wanted to and you were okay with it, you still can't. So. All right.
Any allowed structures. See, and these are things that I don't,
What page are you on, like?
the top of 15. Water supply and disposal for any allowed structures. We already said we're not allowing structures. Except for those temporary structures, which said that they weren't gonna have any water
I know,
supply.
I know, it kind of contradicts itself all the way
They-
through. I agree with you.
But to Tim's comments, it's all requires easement holders
Right.
prior
Yep.
approval. So this is all
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
windage as far as I'm concerned.
Any sign or outdoor.
16
Yeah, I don't
feet,
like that
16
paragraph.
feet sign, wow.
Displayed
4
on
by
the
4.
facility, either erected in association with. Shall
But you
not-
gotta think about like a kiosk with a trail map on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know, those
yep.
are good sized.
Like the one over at Purity Springs.
Yeah, I think 4 by 4 is about the size of what a kiosk sign would be.
And in my review, and like Tim just aptly stated, 150 years from now, this is gonna be in place. I think in this section 3.5 B9, I would like to affirmatively prohibit political signage of any kind.
That's a great idea.
All right, where do you wanna add that?
That was my biggest thing. Was following the election, I said, I hope everyone goes out and takes down every
I
damn
know.
sign
They
that
have
got
to,
put up,
yeah.
like
They
quickly.
won't.
There's a law, they have to, there is a
But
law.
It's
have to,
just,
yeah,
it was getting so irritating at
Oh.
every
But you can't take
intersection.
them
and
down,
just-
I can't
it's
take
like,
them down,
has
so
anyone
your
ever
party has
changed
to
their
take them
mind
down.
based on a sign on the side of the road? What good are
So
they?
you wanna add something in that last in the end of that, what are we at, 3.9, B9? You wanna add in the last
Any
sentence?
sign or outdoor advertising, yeah, because there's no, I would just say,
Any
like,
sign,
just, I know we're not typing, but it doesn't need to be a separate, but just after, just.
Shall not be artificially illuminated or of political nature.
No, I'd say a new sentence after that, but down below, it doesn't have to have a new number or anything, but political signage is
Particularly prohibited.
affirmatively prohibited.
Yeah.
just its own sentence,
Yep.
okay?
Well, because conservation is not a conservative or liberal political issue
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
We're talking about the well-being of the environment
Right.
and everything like that, and regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, but there are people out there that say, well, because I am who I am and I believe in this, then this
Becomes this,
Kamala sign can go here, but the Trump sign can't. And they don't have, it has nothing to do.
shouldn't have anything to do.
Right.
Yep.
Plus, they're just plain ugly anyway. And like you say, they don't amount to.
35C.
You're okay with 10?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it just says they can't do anything without.
How about the approval, yep.
I don't think there are any subsurface alterations.
It says there are none. As of the date of this easement, there are no. And then it
Right.
says,
Then they say list all.
If
I know, but that would be
the-
if they find any on the baseline documentation report, because an ecologist is gonna go out and cover the entire property. So if they find something, that's
It's
where it
still
would
there.
be included.
Okay.
Okay, so we just have to,
Like if they found,
would the baseline documentation report be done and submitted before we sign this?
I would assume so. It's generally done as part of the, yeah.
So I mean, we could go back and say, at the end, there are none, period, if they don't find any, and delete the rest of the paragraph.
Yep. Yeah, the baseline, right back at the 1-2, it says, of even date, signed by the landowner and the easement holder, so you see it
At the
beforehand
closing.
on file, yeah.
At the latest.
Which consists of a survey, maps, photographs that the party agree provide collectively an accurate representation of the conservation area, yes.
Who provides that document?
Well, that was my question. I would assume they're doing it, or they typically hire an outside person to do it because it's a fairly intensive
Sounds like
document.
it's gonna be very involved.
You know, Rick Vanderpool out of Sandwich does a bunch of them. He's an ecologist. There's some other people that do them. I'm not sure if they're equipped to do it in-house, probably not. But it's generally a, you know, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch thick document. Lots of words, very expensive.
So 3.5C is okay?
I think so. I mean,
1,
it's,
2, and 3.
I mean, it's all saying
Well,
that you need, basically saying anything that they want to do.
Easement holder rule again, yeah. Mining and extraction. That was one of yours. I remember that.
Yes.
That was a big one for you.
Right.
Basically saying,
no wider than 8 feet in tread width.
where are we there?
Sorry, at the very
Page
top of
16,
page 16.
Recreational uses, public trails. Yeah,
Seems narrow.
well, I guess it depends on the trail, whether it's a single track trail or, you know, like the, down in the Pine Barrens, the ADA trail that they built is probably around 8 feet wide.
Yeah, but it's, yeah.
So to exceed that, they would need you guys as
Well,
approval.
I guess what I would be suggesting is it should be wider. And I'm only thinking of if we had to get a fire truck out there, make it wide enough so that you don't have to take down any trees. You can just drive it. I'm not saying the vehicle use.
I don't think they're talking about like Woods Road type things. I think this is more like recreational trail, not something you'd be able to get a fire truck down.
Like the rest of the walking trails on the town property.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, this is recreational uses. No mining, no dumping.
Yep.
It seems pretty self-explanatory.
I only had a question about with the burning, like, I don't know. Should be no dumping, disposal, or burning on or above. Of rubbish.
Rubbish.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's fine.
Because if they wanted to do some sort of like habitat improvement, I think
Prescription.
that would be allowed under the forestry or the wildlife habitat plan that you guys would be looking at. But yeah, this is just saying they can't burn.
Garbage,
Yeah,
which you can't anyway.
I know. There's so much stuff in here that's just,
Why don't they just have, once it, you cannot do anything under this agreement which would break an existing state law.
but state laws change, I guess.
I know,
But yeah,
but
it
if you just said you can't do anything that would break a state law, then that would flow with whatever's in place at the time. There's just so much of this stuff, like, are you, thou shalt not, well, you can't anyway, it's against the law.
But I suppose that if the law changed, it's still good to say you can't.
Yeah.
Landowners conveyance of rights of way, easement regulation.
In 3.9A,
Yeah, they're
What-
protected.
sequestering carbon.
Meaning, I'm seeing, reading this now and seeing my comment. It's basically they cannot, sign away an easement that would be more restrictive than this one. Like, if they sold carbon credits, it would prohibit harvesting on the property, or if they sold a Forever Wild easement that would prohibit harvesting or people being on there. it's saying that they're not allowed to do any of that stuff. Further restrict the uses of the property beyond this deed right here without your approval.
Right.
Three nine C, what does that mean?
If you did allow them to do a more restrictive easement, the easement, the entity that was getting it has to pay and record.
Yeah.
So it's basically just saying that it's not your responsibility, should you allow them down the line to sign away additional rights on the property of some sort, then it must be recorded. And it's the easement holder, whoever gets it, is responsibility. So it has to be legally documented, should you allow it to occur.
They pay the easement fee and recording fees, transfer tax.
Okay, my comment on 39D, I see,
Yeah.
there was a comment that you remove it because it's not applicable, but, 100 years from now, USVLT may not be the landowner. But this is saying that no matter who the landowner is, this land can't be used to qualify for anything else, because it,
Well, like what they're getting ready to do in North Conway,
what is that?
right by the market basket. They're using all of that area around Puddin Pond to qualify as open space to allow them to
Yes.
densify the development.
And so you're saying that, and this is stating that this piece of land can't be used to satisfy someone else's development needs, whether it be the landowner of this piece of land or another piece of land. This is just, this piece of land sits on its own merit, and no one else can use the fact that it's conservation land for their
Okay.
own good. I think that's a good thing to have in there.
Do you think that would hold up 150 years from now?
You can
You never-
only hope.
We're not gonna
We
worry.
won't worry about it.
But I would think so, yes. It's pretty definitive.
Yep.
Okay.
Because by then, they're gonna be building above the ground anyway, right?
Yeah,
Kind
or
of
on
like
Mars.
the Jetsons.
Yeah. Already did this.
Boundary, oh yeah, we already did 311, that's where
Yeah,
we jumped
did that
to.
already. We jumped to that with you. And we did 18 also.
As far as under the uses, Tim, before we get too far past that as well.
What page?
That was 17 that we already did cover, but just something that I thought of is that's not mentioned that it's allowed or not allowed. There's a spot on the property currently being used as a shooting range.
Oh, yeah. Up the,
So where would that fall in if we chose to, I mean, technically, I would think they would need landowner permission to do it, but.
They, yeah, I mean, it's, by rights, I don't think it's something that you could force them to allow because it's something that could get out of hand.
Right, I'm
If you
more
had more,
thinking of
I-
not allowing it.
yeah, where it's not,
up from your house up.
yeah, that's a good
If you go
question.
in the access road,
So this,
right off
is low impact.
Yeah.
So it's not listed in 311A as the stuff that they have to allow.
Right.
So I would assume if it's not listed as a have to allow, then they're able to prohibit it if it becomes an issue.
That become a structure, the sandbank?
I mean, is it a fairly minimal use right now, or is it something that
Never
people are
is.
lugging cans out there and you're getting all sorts of like
It's getting a
targets?
lot.
Yeah,
It's
right.
been used quite a
It
bit.
is.
Oh, then yeah, they're probably gonna wanna address that then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that word doesn't come up at all, does it, in any of the text so far?
No, but I mean, typically speaking, you can't just go onto the property, it's somebody else's property to shoot.
Yep. So I mean, that's,
They are.
You, well, yeah, but you
it's
need
because
permission. and-
Crow himself isn't around to
Right.
restrict
Monitor
it.
it, right, yeah.
Say no.
yeah. So where it's not a stated use that has to be allowed, they'd be allowed to restrict it. So I guess.
What would they do in that area anyway? I mean, it's a question you can't answer, but it's an old pit.
Right.
I mean, I
And
get
it's
it.
not permitted, so they're not gonna extract anything, and in fact, mining is prohibited.
Right.
So would they engage in some kind of reclamation, or?
I think they'd probably just let nature take its course and grow in on its own.
If we have it in the easement that it's prohibited, then the people in the area can call the PDA and they can enforce it, is the other thing.
Where was the see, we jumped around. Where was the paragraph that specifically, like, where we wanted to include camping and,
That's on page 18, right?
Yes.
That towards the, above number 4. right in that
yep,
area.
the fourth bullet point, maybe,
Add that one in there.
yeah, maybe add shooting in there, recreational shooting.
Does that mean hunting? Does
No.
that imply hunt?
Target shooting.
Yeah, target shooting.
Target.
So where do you want me to put that? In?
In the fourth bullet point in 311D1,
Like at the end of uses?
No.
probably
Camping, horseback riding,
Mountain
somewhere in that
Mountain
mix
biking.
right there,
Target
recreational.
shooting, I would put it after biking, how's that?
Sure. That's a good call to get that in there, and it'll also make them start thinking about it.
Well, I hear it at night.
Yeah.
So do you.
It could be once every 3 weeks, it could be 2 times a day.
Right, oh, on
Down
Sundays
there. Yeah,
too.
and then a lot of times on Sunday afternoons.
Yep, I hear it every Sunday.
It's Bergeron, isn't it, doing most of it?
No, it's the other one
Oh,
back
is it?
up towards,
In the log cabin?
No.
no, it's not even people from the neighborhood.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh,
I've had people
All
call
right,
me
so
down there.
4,
They drive
the
in.
sale or transport requires
Where are
advance notice, page 18,
Yep.
into major bullet point 4. Obviously, the sale and transfer would require notice. I see a note in here, MCC requests right of first refusal to purchase it. Is this the best section? Yeah, I think
Yes,
that
that's
would
what I
probably be the right
first put.
spot for it.
And we should add something in there if you want to request a right of first refusal. What's your thoughts, Mike?
You could put it at the very beginning, subject to,
I think you have an opportunity to acquire a right, then we should,
Yeah,
practically speaking, but years down the line, maybe the town will get wealthier than it is today, and you would
you
have
still
the
want to have that
ability.
option
Well, right, it's better to have the option
and
than
not have
not,
it all,
but
right?
practically speaking, the way land values are going and stuff like that, we'll never be able to afford.
The one thing to think about, and I think that the town should have the right of first refusal, but something to think about is in order for you to own it in fee, you would have to find someone that's going to take over this easement. We just dealt with this, I'm on the board of Moose Mountain Regional Greenways. We held easement on a property in Milton. We just took over fee ownership. We negotiated with the Forest Society to take over the easement on it.
Yeah.
It happens, but, you know, and that doesn't need to be put in here because that's just legally the way things are. But I think it would be good for the town to have that right, and I
So you
think
want me
this
to-
would be the appropriate place to put
At
it.
the last sentence where it says
You
transferring.
don't try to make it up, just put a put an asterisk there that we need to add right of first
Yep.
refusal. And there's a
Let them figure out where to put it in.
there's a
Alright.
boilerplate paragraph that they can,
Right.
I actually have it at home, I think.
right, but I'm just saying, no point in trying to come up with it. There's boilerplate
Add right of
contractual
first-
language for
Yep.
that.
I had a comment over on page 19 of this blue thing. I think that that's an important thing to keep in there because it states that ultimately the buck stops with the landowner. They are unconditionally responsible for anything that happens on that easement, whether they permitted it or not.
That's 5-1.
5-1, the highlighted in blue. In the event of any rent or lease, so if they come to us and say, we wanna, do whatever, and we say, or I say we, if you say yes, and something happens, the landowner, not the leasee, is responsible to
Right.
fix it. And you can hold their toes to the fire.
I thought we prohibited rental. So tenants is an issue. Where was that? We went back.
That one, that was.
In 35A2,
12,
we deleted leases allowed.
Okay, well then,
Then, so I think we should delete the word tenants. Future own,
where
Well,
is the word
it-
tenant? I'm not.
tenant is in 5-1, third line down. And we also prohibited sale of pieces of the property. So I believe it should be future owner,
against all future owners in perpetuity.
owners, okay, so it could be sequential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But get rid of the word tenants.
And tenants.
Yep. In the event of any rent or lease of all
See-
or a portion of the conservation area as permitted by this easement, the landowner shall.
See, we're
remain
saying it's
responsible.
not. See, we're saying we don't want it rented out,
Right.
Okay.
and we don't want it subdivided.
Well, the subdivision is already stated that it can't be.
Right. Yeah, so they're saying if they own it and they lease out the property to somebody else,
For
they're
a,
responsible.
yeah, for a use or activity permitted in this easement, so. I guess if they were to lease use of the recreational trail system for, what? A cross-country skiing thing, is that what we're talking about?
No, I think somebody has a lease that says, I have the unlimited use of a section of the property.
Well, I don't think that's permitted.
No, I don't either. I think they would have to come to you to do something like that anyway. You're changing the,
You're changing the use,
Trajectory
because
of the use.
the public has the rights to use the property. I think just getting rid of the words in tenant here, and then in the event of any rent or lease of all or a portion of the conservation area as permitted by this easement, which there's very limited things that it could be
Right.
permitted for, the landowner shall remain.
All right.
I guess I don't see an issue with that sentence, because
Okay.
they can't rent or lease it without your permission anyway, and there's so few things that
Well,
would
we changed
qualify.
35A the NREF is prohibited. It doesn't, and not accept.
Yeah.
You took out the word accept, so that other thing is removed.
All right, then put a note in there, is this necessary if 35A is removed? And just, that would be the note that we gave them.
Right.
Is what?
Is this necessary?
If 35A is removed.
It wasn't totally removed.
It's modified.
Yes.
Come on in.
Unless we haven't started our meeting.
It's not quite 4:30 yet.
Well, I'm gonna take off at 4:30, so is there anything else?
Can we put on page 19, just put a hard stop and we come back to this?
We stopped.
We're not gonna
right-
do any more
I'm
in
gonna
4
put
minutes.
stop
Yeah.
right after here. Stop.
Okay.
And we can all catch our breath for 3 minutes before we start the meeting.
Yeah, because I still have to do your packets. I haven't even had a chance to do that yet. So-
Okay,
Thanks, Tim.
I don't know whether you got this, but they apparently are moving to amend the purchase agreement to November of 2025.
When was it originally?
This year.
This month. It was
This-
originally said.
But this portion wouldn't happen until.
But there are some activities that,
All right, so,
Do we have to make a motion to close our session?
yes, we will. Ted, that's your packet.
Thank you.
That's your packet.
yeah, that's,
Mike, that's your packet. I don't know if anybody else is coming, but there's the packets. So we did that, we asked him for
the purchase price is adjusted. I think
Yeah,
that's,
it's up 30.
that's outrageous, but I guess that not anything we can,
it doesn't affect you. You committed to what you committed.
Yep.
but there's information about an ATV
Close that out.
facility.
Hold on a second, Mark. We haven't finished.
He's
this.
saying they've increased their budget to it, they're putting money in to address some ATV activity.
Well, that's something, the point of that is, we should be talking with them about it. You know, if we're the easement holder, they're making steps that, right now, we don't have any right to say anything, but we should.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think they need our permission to fix erosion and, that, they would need permission to construct the
trail.
accessible trail. That would require
And
permission.
new parking,
Where does it
trailhead
say
parking.
that? Yeah, that would be stuff that specifically, but in their own language, need your
Right,
approval, but.
right,
But this one here, they've increased their budget.
right, that's nothing,
Yeah,
okay.
anyway.
Anyhow, good, all right,
We gotta
we need to cut you loose.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Have a
Tim.
good one all.
Ralph, we gotta
Yep.
close this out.
I'll make a motion that we close the work
You could state
session
it
and
local.
open our regular meeting.
I'll second that.
Don't start yet.
I just need,
Yep, gotta give you a sec.